Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about approximating square roots, which basically means estimating square roots. So I'm going to go through part of this worksheet so that I can kind of show you how it works. So the key is really to set up a number line. So the reason I like this worksheet is because if you look down here at the bottom, it gives you this number line here, which just obviously starts at 0 on the left side and moves over to positive 12 on the right side. And so the key is to set up a number line of square roots. So we basically just want to write the square root above this that is equivalent to the number below it. So I'm basically asking myself the square root of what number equals 0, which hopefully you know that the square root of 0 is 0. And then the square root of what number equals 1, which would be 1. The square root of what number equals 2, so the square root of 4 is equal to 2. So do you see how the number that's above is really the same as the number that was below? I'm just rewriting it as a square root. So this would be the square root of 9. So the secret here is just to take 1 times 1 in here. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, so 4 times 4 means the square root of 16 equals 4. 5 times 5 is 25, so this would be the square root of 36. So this is some of the reasons it's nice to have these memorized, is because that way you don't have to go through and waste your time going through a calculator. So there's my number line all the way up to 12, which is the square root of 144. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to estimate these numbers up here without using a calculator by looking at this number line. So the same way that these whole numbers here go from 0 up to 12 and they go in order, you know, from smallest to largest as we move from left to right, the square roots are the same way. So as I move here from left, square root of 0, all the way to right, which is square root of 144, these get bigger and bigger. So the ones I've listed here are the perfect squares. But realistically, there's a whole bunch of non-perfect squares that fit between all of these. For example, if I was looking between the square root of 1 and the square root of 4 here on the number line, there also is going to be a square root of 2 and a square root of 3 that fit inside there. And so we can use that idea that these keep going. So 1, 2, 3, so here's 4. And so between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9, there's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. Makes sense? So they all just go in order. So for example, if I was looking here for the square root of 30, really I'm looking at something that's going to be close to these two, right? The square root of 25 and the square root of 36. So the square root of 30 would be somewhere between them. And since it's pretty close to being right in the middle, I'm going to put it there. So if I'm following the puzzle, since this square root of 30 here is between 5 and 6, I would estimate that as being approximately 5.5. And then if I want to go through and add the letters for my puzzle, I can put an S here, since there's an S. So I finished that. So that's kind of what I'm doing as I go through, is I'm trying to figure out where I would estimate them to be. So here for square root of 8, I know that's going to be here, like I said, between 4 and 9. And it's going to be closer to 9, so let's say I put it there. Then I could say that this is E, and I would estimate that since it's almost 3, right? It's not quite 3, but it's almost at 3. I'd say maybe this is like 2.8, something like that. Okay, so then I'm going to go through square root of 138, so that one's a pretty big one. That's definitely going to be over here. It's between 121 and 144, and I'd say, hopefully, it seems to you as well that it would be a little bit closer to 144. So this would be square root of 138. So I'm going to call that letter G. And then if I'm going to estimate that, since it's almost at 12 but not quite, I'd say maybe 11.7. And then square root of 70, so here I'm going to come between the 64 and the 81. And if I'm asking which it's closer to, so 70 is about 6 away from 64, but 70 is 11 away from 81, so it's a little bit closer to 64. So I'm going to put square root of 70 there. I'm going to put my letter Y up here, which means I'm done here. And then if I'm estimating this, it's, you know, it's not halfway yet to 9, so maybe like 8.3. So the estimating part is just based on where it would fit between which two perfect squares. So we had the square root of 2. We actually already added that here, right, when I was talking about that earlier. And that was closer to 1 than it was to 4. So I'd say maybe 1.3. Let's see, square root of 23. So here's square root of 25, so it's going to be right before that. So this is A. And then since it's almost 5 but not quite, maybe 4.8. All right, square root of 82. So that one is right past 81. So I'm going to have my I here. And so since 9 is 81, 82 would be like 9.1. All right, this one's kind of tricky, but it still works the same way. If I think about 0 being here at the end and 1 being here, 0.5 is still going to be between those two somewhere. So just for we're estimating, so it doesn't have to be exact. This is probably one of the ones that's the most off as far as an estimation goes, but that's okay. It's still going to be between those, and so I still labeled this area S as far as the puzzle goes. And then based on this, since it's between 0 and 1, I would estimate that as being approximately 0.5, but it's not actually quite that. If you type it into a calculator, you'll see that it's not. Okay, it's actually closer to 0.7. If you look, I think, but hopefully I'm right on that. I think that's what I remember. Square root of 45 is here, right? So that would be a little bit before 49. So I'd estimate that as being, if it's right before 7, maybe 6.7 or 8. So consider, you know, these are estimates. So T. So it could be off a little bit. So that's another reason I like this puzzle, is that you basically just need it in the right area. It doesn't have to be exact. Square root of 120, so that's 121 is here, so that would be right there, which would be almost 11, so maybe 10.9. So N is going to be up here. Square root of 11, so right past square root of 9, which is maybe 9.2. So W is here. Ooh, I forgot to add. I just noticed that I forgot to add the H for this one. Maybe you noticed. And then square root of 59, I know what the puzzle's supposed to say, so I was like, that doesn't seem right. Is closer to 64, so it's only 6 away from 64, but it's 10 away here. So square root of 59 would be here, which is R. And then if I was going to estimate that, since it's close to 8, more than halfway, so I'd say maybe 7.7. So if you read this puzzle, the words are, she was trying. So the question was, why did the teacher assign extra homework when she taught adolescents? So if you want to know the rest of the puzzle, I guess you'll have to find the worksheet and finish it. I'll actually put it up on the screen in case you want to finish it. That way you can try those practice problems on your own. You can just pause it and try them and see if you get the answer to the puzzle. Thanks for paying attention.